Yes.
And with regard to the last statement, for example, was that your belief or was that a technique?
It was a technique.
And what was it that you were trying to get as part of your investigation here?
I was trying to get the truth from Miss Arias.
In other words, as to whether or not she had killed Mr. Alexander, correct?
Yes.
And so when you said to her something about you guys kept it hidden, was that part of the technique?
Yes.
And this issue about whether or not his finances were an issue, again, was that a technique?
Yes, it was.
And in terms of how the crime was planned and who did what, was that also a technique?
Yes.
I don't have anything else.
Any questions from the jury for this witness? Thank you. You may step down. Mr. Martinez.
Thank you, Michael Melendez.
Spell your last name, please.
Sure, it's M-E-L-E-N-D-E-Z.
Raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Please walk around and have a seat.
Good morning. Good morning.
Your name, sir?
Sure, it's Michael Melendez, M-E-L-E-N-D-E-Z.
And who do you work for?
Mesa Police Department.
Drawing your attention back to June of 2008, were you also employed by the Mesa Police Department?
Yes.
And what did you do for them back in June of 2008?
I was assigned to the computer forensics unit as a detective.
And being assigned there, what is it that you would do?
I conducted examinations of computer-related evidence, and also I collected that evidence.
When you say that you conducted examinations of computer-related evidence, why don't you tell me what that involved?
Basically, what I would do is initially collect the evidence, then I would do a forensic examination of that evidence. I would connect it to what we call write blockers, so that the evidence will not be altered. Then after that point, I'll make an image of that evidence with software, and then I would analyze that evidence, look through it.
So, that I understand it, let's say that you received a computer, for example.
Yes.
And when you receive the computer, what is the first step that you would take in your job back then?
If it was a tower, meaning like a desktop, like a tower, I would remove the hard drive. That would be the first step that I would take.
Why would you remove the hard drive?
Because that's what I'm going to examine, not the tower itself. I would be examining the drive.
And why would you examine the hard drive? What is it? Why are
That's
you
where all
interested
the
in?
data.
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Hold on. Why would you examine the hard drive? Why would you be interested in that as opposed to the monitor itself?
Because the hard drive is where all the data is contained and stored.
So how would you go about doing that? Now you have the hard drive, and what would you do with it?
I would connect the hard drive to what we call write blocker. It's hardware that prevents, when the drive is connected to my computer that I use for my examinations, it prevents the computer from altering the drive.
Okay, so you connect it to something to stop the computer from altering the drive, and then what do you do?
Then at that time, I used forensic software, which I was using NCASE at that time, to make an exact copy of that drive.
And why would you make an exact copy of the drive?
The purpose is so that I could work off of the copy instead of the actual drive.
And why?
Because you don't want to alter the drive, so we can't really do anything as far as the information that's on the drive to look at it, because then it will be altered.
So the original is kept in pristine form then?
Yes.
Correct? And then you actually conduct your work on the image that you made of it, right?
Yes,
Are you familiar with the term mirror image?
yes.
And what is that?
It's an exact image like a mirror.
Right. So in this case, in your process, is that what you work with, the mirror image of the hard drive?
Yes, I did.
And what is it that you do? What is it that you do, or what is it that you're looking for? What are the processes that you undertake with regard to that mirror image in this hypothetical hard drive from a computer?
Well, initially you use the software. I would look at, if it's a hard drive from a computer, I would look for information as to the user account information, the last time that the computer was shut down, time and date, then any other data that's in that computer.
Did you, as part of working in that area, did you also have occasion to work with cameras?
Yes.
And given what you've just told us about the hard drive, is there anything in cameras that is analogous or similar to a hard drive in a computer?
It usually contains a memory card in it.
So is that yes? There is something similar to it?
Yes.
And that's called what?
It depends on the camera. It could be an SD card. It could be a stick they refer to as a memory stick.
All right, and with regard to a memory stick or a card, what is the process that you undertake to try to see what's in there?
It's a similar process. I would have to connect it to a write blocker. Not directly, though. It would be connected to a card reader that has a USB cord on it, and I'll connect the USB to the hard write blocker.
Would you also make a mirror image of that or not?
I would,
And then would you work with the mirror image?
yes.
And then you would apply whatever software is available to take a look at what was in there, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
To get back to the computer, there was a computer that you worked on in this case, right?
A laptop, I believe there were 2 laptops and a
So
computer.
the answer is yes.
Yes,
And
I'm
now,
sorry.
and what is it that you worked on, sir?
I worked on a laptop
Okay.
initially.
With regard to, again, with the computer, you're familiar with how, obviously, with the way a user goes about using these in the sense that if they're done with something, they hit the delete button and away it goes off your screen, right?
Yes,
And then if you hit another delete button after it's in the trash or the deleted folder, it's further deleted, right?
yes.
Just because an item is deleted, does that mean that it's gone from this hard drive on the computer?
No, it does not.
What happens to it? Explain to me what happens to this deleted item that has now been deleted from when it first came in, then from the deleted items category or folder.
What happens is when you have a computer, you have an operating system. In most cases, people have Windows computers, so it'll be XP, Vista, whatever the new one is now, I think Windows 8. You have an operating system. When you delete something, the operating system is stating that that area that was assigned to that file is now available for new files to be put in that area.
All right. So what happens to the deleted item? What happens?
It stays there until a new file overwrites it, takes its place.
So is there empty space out there where this deleted item goes to?
There are areas of the drive where the deleted item is sitting at, and it stays there until you say, I want
So
to add.
the
new
answer
one.
is yes,
yes.
it does go, it can
Yes,
go.
yes.
And then you want to tell me that it stays there for a long time, right?
It can, yes. Until
Something else comes along to override it.
Yes.
When you say override, what does that mean?
That basically means what I'm trying to say is that if let's say we look at a file cabinet and you have a bunch of folders in that file cabinet,
Right.
and you don't want to use whatever's in that folder at this time in those files, and you may say, well, I'm going to leave it there until I need that room for the new files. Now you have a bunch of new files that you need somewhere to put them. Then you will take out those old files, pull them out, and replace them with the new ones. Then whatever was in those old files now is gone.
Okay.
And that's what overwriting means, basically.
Could there be a point where whatever was in these files out there, that they could permanently be gone or deleted?
Yes.
With regard to the camera example that we've been talking about and the cards that are associated with it, how does that work in terms of, for example, deleting an image, a photograph? How does that work?
Deleting it from the camera itself.
Sure.
Deleting it from the camera itself and then This specific case is a 5-step process.
And I understand that, but is it the same as as the computer where, and I'm just talking the theory of it.
Okay.
Where it's deleted, does it then go to this other space out there until it's overwritten or covered up?
Yes, it works in the same fashion because it's stored in the media card.
The space that's out there, where this image may go, does it have a name?
It would be considered unallocated space because it doesn't have a file assigned to it.
So the name for this place is unallocated,
Yes.
right? And you said it's unallocated because why?
It doesn't have a file assigned to that specific area.
What are you telling us when you say that it doesn't have a file assigned to that specific area? Hold on.
Okay.
As you told us before, you have the file in the file cabinet. Come on, you remove it and you get rid of that file. How does that work with regard to
Well,
pictures or images that are in unallocated space?
that will be more like if you have some type of way of indexing where you put things at.
Right?
You lost your index cards where now you don't know exactly where you put those things at.
And let's say that they're in this area, this unallocated space. Does that mean that you, as an investigator, are prevented from going into that unallocated space to look around?
No.
How does that work, that you look around in that space?
When I look around in that space, what I would do is search for a file header of a specific file, and that will gain me access to whatever files with that file header are in the drive. And if those files are in unallocated space, it will return a hit for me showing me those files.
So it sounds from what you're telling me is that you can then, whatever program that you're using or whatever software you're using, you can actually go into this unallocated space and look throughout the whole unallocated space to see if there's something of interest to you.
Yes.
And how is it that they're presented to you? Do the images pop up? How does it work that you can go into this area to just look at these things?
Okay, there's different ways to look at it with the software. One of it would be an image view, which it will be just images popping up and you can see them like in a thumbnail view. You have multiple images that you could look at.
Hold on, and it's because probably I don't understand it, but
Okay.
you used the word that I want to talk to you about. You said thumbnail, and we've been talking about unallocated space. What's a thumbnail?
Well, basically, when you take an image, let's say with a camera, you take a photograph, it creates a large image, and then it creates a smaller image of the same image.
At the time of taking the photograph, there are two images that are created, the larger photograph as well as a smaller thumbnail.
Yes, that is correct.
So let's say that you delete the larger photograph. What happens to the thumbnail?
It may still be there. It gets deleted also, but it may still be in that area.
So could it be that the larger photograph is somehow deleted and gone, and yet the thumbnail remains?
Yes, if the area is not overwritten with new information, that part of it may still be there.
It's,
Yes.
and the term thumbnail implies to me that we're talking smaller versus, I guess, larger finger. Are they smaller, as the name implies, or are they the same size as the photograph?
They're not the same size. It's actually a smaller image.
So go ahead. You were telling us about the thumbnails, and then in your investigation, how you go about.
Right. What the software would do is you could either have different views. You could look at it in hex view, which will just be in letters.
Right.
You could look at it in image view, which will be your thumbnail view, which will give you all the images that it's able to recover.
Okay. In this particular case, did you have occasion to work with exhibits number 214, 215, and 220? Take a look.
Okay.
And first of all, the larger, I think, what's the number on the green camera?
214?
214. Did you have occasion to conduct an examination of that camera?
Yes, I did.
And with regard to that camera, explain to me how it works. Most of us are familiar with cameras, but explain to me how this camera works.
It's a digital camera, so it would need to have power source on it, basically electrical.
And there's a
battery.
power source in there, correct?
Yes.
Who bought that?
I did,
And why did you buy it?
because I did not have a power source for the camera.
Didn't that camera come with batteries?
It did have a battery, yes.
So why not just get a battery instead of the power source, or is the power source a battery?
Well, the battery was dead, and I got the power source so I could maintain power on it.
Okay. And so you have this camera. How does it work? If a person's going to take a picture, how does it work?
Well, these types of cameras, you would turn them on, and then you would basically point and click the button.
In terms of right and left-handed, which is sort of where I was going, this camera, the button, does it have a button to take photographs?
Yes, the button's on the top right
Why don't you
side.
just take it out so we can look at it? If you want, we can get some scissors.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please be back in the designated area at 1:25, and we will start promptly at 1:30. Please remember the admonition. You are excused. Have a nice lunch.